The Lakota warrior whispered, "Never look at him again." Her words left him speechless. The twin suns of Red Mesa dipped low over the dusty horizon, painting the barren plains in shades of orange and red. The wind carried grit across the open desert, whipping it into Jace Crow's face as he rode his old hover horse down the cracked path leading to the town. Red Mesa wasn't much, a scattering of metal shacks, a dusty saloon, and a single landing pad for the occasional cargo ship. But it was alive with stories, rumors, and dangers. Stories were important here. Dangerous, too. Jace adjusted the strap of his coat over his cybernetic arm. The arm had seen more fights than he cared to remember. Its polished metal reflected the dying sunlight, a reminder of a past he wanted to forget. He didn't want anyone to see the wires beneath his skin or the little sparks that occasionally escaped when he used too much strength. In Red Mesa, that kind of display made people nervous, and nervous people didn't survive long in the desert. The town lay quiet as he entered, a few figures pausing to glance at the stranger. He tipped his wide-brimmed hat at them, but most kept their distance. That was fine with Jace. Loners like him weren't made for friendly conversations. He tethered his hover horse at a small metal post outside the saloon and pushed the door open. Inside, the air smelled of dust, sweat, and the faint metallic tang of energy drinks. Jace's eyes adjusted to the dim light. The bartender, a stocky man with a scar running from his left temple to his jaw, gave a nod. "Crow. Didn't expect you this early," he said. "I don't come for the hospitality," Jace replied, his voice low and rough. "I'm looking for Mira." At that, a young woman stepped out from behind the bar. Mira was nothing like the usual frontier women of Red Mesa. Her hair was tied back neatly, and her green eyes seemed to shine even in the dim light. She carried herself with calm confidence, though the twitch of her fingers betrayed tension. "You're Jace Crow," she said. Her voice was steady, but carried a warning. "I've heard about you." "And you're the one who wants me to fetch something from the desert," he said, scanning her carefully. "A crystal, wasn't it? Something powerful?" Mira's gaze faltered for a moment. She looked past him, almost as if she saw something, or someone, lurking in the shadows. Then she turned back, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Never look at him again," she said. Jace froze.
The words hit him like a cold gust of wind.
"Who?" he wondered. The statement was strange, cryptic, and personal. He had met many people who feared the desert, but this warning felt different. There was history in it, something he had buried long ago. "What do you mean?" he asked, though he already knew Mira wouldn't answer fully. "You'll see," she said, her green eyes darkening with unease. "But first, you need to come with me." They left the saloon together. Mira guided him past the town's few metal shacks and toward the edge of the desert, where the ground turned from cracked earth to shifting sands. A light breeze carried faint whispers, almost like voices from far away. Jay shook his head. Probably just the wind, he thought. But a chill ran down his spine. "I've hired you because this isn't just a simple job," Mira said as they rode. Her voice was calm, but the tension underneath was palpable. "The crystal, it's not just valuable. It's dangerous. And there are others who want it. Mercenaries, raiders, maybe even worse."
Jace nodded.
He had faced worse, but there was something in her tone that made him pay attention. Not the usual fear of death. She was talking about something bigger, something unseen. The desert stretched endlessly before them, rolling dunes giving way to jagged mesas. Red Mesa's horizon seemed endless, the twin suns casting long shadows over the rocky terrain. The farther they rode, the more Jace felt a strange energy in the air. It wasn't mechanical, nor was it natural. It was ancient. "Have you ever seen him?" Mira asked suddenly. Her question startled Jace. "Seen who?" he replied, cautious. "The warrior," she said. "The Lakota spirit who protects the desert. They say he's half machine, half soul, and that he watches over the ruins." Jace frowned. The stories had been passed down for decades, mostly whispered among the locals. Tales of a guardian spirit, combining ancient wisdom with forgotten technology, protecting something buried deep beneath the sands. He had never believed them, until now when Mira mentioned him so plainly. "And you think he'll interfere?" Jace asked. Mira's eyes darted around nervously. "He's already interfered. Just look at your past. He's connected to you, whether you want to admit it or not." Jace's grip on the hoverhorse tightened. Memories surged, flashes of a small boy in the desert, watching a glowing figure, feeling awe and fear at the same time. He had pushed it all away, buried it under years of survival and isolation. But the memory was real. The warrior had been real. The wind picked up, sending small whirlwinds of sand across the dunes. A figure appeared on a distant ridge, a tall, imposing silhouette. It seemed to shimmer, half there, half a reflection of something else. Jace squinted. The shape moved with a rhythm that was both human and unnatural. "There," Mira said softly. "Do not look directly at him." Jace hesitated. The urge to stare, to remember, was strong. He wanted to see the face of the thing that haunted his past, to understand why Mira had warned him so fiercely. But something in the air, some instinct older than reason, made him turn his gaze away. The journey continued in silence, the desert vast and unforgiving. Mira guided him to an old landing pad buried beneath the sand, where the ruins of an ancient facility lay hidden. Metal beams jutted out like broken bones, and energy conduits hummed faintly beneath the surface. "This is where it starts," Mira said. "The crystal is inside. And the warrior. He's already here." Jace studied the ruins. Machines from decades ago lay intertwined with the sandstone, creating an eerie blend of technology and nature. He could feel the hum of energy, faint but unmistakable, resonating in his cybernetic arm. Something about the place spoke to him, a call he couldn't ignore. Mira dismounted. "You'll need to enter the ruins." "I can't." "He doesn't let anyone come near, not without judgment." Jace's jaw tightened. He had faced guards, raiders, and predators far deadlier than a ghost story, yet a part of him hesitated. This is different, he thought. This is not just a story. A wind gust blew sand across the ruins, revealing a faint shimmer, like heat waves over metal. Jace's heart skipped. In the shimmer he thought he saw movement, something alive, watching, waiting. He swallowed hard, remembering Mira's words. Never look at him again. As the sun sank below the horizon, the desert darkened. The ruins seemed to breathe in the twilight, alive with ancient power. Jace adjusted the strap on his coat and stepped forward, knowing that once he entered, nothing would be the same. Mira placed a hand on his arm. "Trust me," she whispered. "If you break the warning, you may never be the same. But it may be the only way to survive." Jace nodded, his fingers brushing the cool metal of his cybernetic hand. He took a deep breath and stepped into the ruins. The desert wind howled behind him, carrying whispers that sounded almost human. For a moment he swore he heard a voice echo in his mind, "Never look at him again." And somewhere, deep in the shadows of Red Mesa's desert, the Lakota warrior waited. The ruins of Red Mesa stretched endlessly beneath the twin moons, their pale light spilling across cracked metal and stone. Jace's boots crunched against the debris as he moved carefully, his cybernetic arm humming faintly with each step. Mira followed, her green eyes scanning every shadow, every glimmer of movement. The desert around them was quiet, but it wasn't safe. The silence itself seemed alive. Jace paused near a half-buried doorway. "The crystal should be inside?" he asked, his voice low. Mira nodded. "Yes, but it's not just about finding it. The ruins have... The warrior doesn't like strangers." Jace frowned. He had expected traps, security drones, maybe a few mercenaries. A warrior ghost, half machine, half spirit, was something else entirely. But he didn't back down. He had faced worse. The interior of the ruins was a maze of metal corridors, some collapsed, some glowing with faint energy. Old circuits flickered on and off, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Jace's cybernetic arm detected energy readings, the crystal calling to him like a silent pulse. "I've never been this deep," Mira whispered. "Even I've only come near the edge. The warrior, he chooses who can enter." A sudden rumble shook the ground. Sand and dust fell from above. Jace's instincts kicked in, and he drew his revolver, modified to fire both plasma and conventional bullets. Mira stayed close, her hand brushing the side of her own small blaster. From the shadows, figures emerged. Raider bandits, their armor patched with metal plates and glowing wires, wielded a mix of old rifles and high-tech plasma pistols. Their eyes gleamed with greed. "Looks like the crystal's not ours alone," one of them said, grinning. Jace fired first, a flash of plasma streaking across the corridor. The bullet hit a metal beam, sending sparks flying. The raiders ducked behind cover, shouting orders and firing back. Jace moved like a shadow, leaping over debris, his arms' enhanced strength allowing him to dodge and push aside heavy obstacles. Mira wasn't just watching. She shot with precision, taking out raiders who tried to flank Jace. Together they moved through the ruins like a deadly dance, blending human skill with technology. Then, from deeper within the ruins, a new presence made itself known. A shimmering figure, tall and imposing, appeared in the center of the hallway. It was the Lakota warrior, Its form flickered, half visible like a hologram, yet somehow solid. Eyes glowing faintly, it didn't attack immediately. Instead, it watched, studying Jace and Mira. Jace froze for a moment. Memories he had tried to forget surged back. A young boy hiding behind rocks in the desert, staring at a glowing figure, feeling awe and fear in equal measure. That figure had been the warrior. Mira's whisper pulled him back. "Don't look at him directly. Remember what I said." Jace tore his gaze away, forcing himself to focus on the raiders. The warrior's presence wasn't just spiritual. It interfered with the circuits of the raiders' weapons. Guns misfired, energy cores sparked, and shields flickered. One by one, the raiders fell back, frightened and confused. "Crazy," one raider muttered. "It's like the desert itself is fighting us." Jay seized the moment. With a combination of skill and cybernetic strength, he disarmed the raiders and sent them stumbling back into the rubble. Mira stayed close, keeping her blaster trained on any threat. Once the corridor was clear, Jace exhaled. "Whatever that thing is, it's more than a legend." Mira nodded. "The warrior isn't just protecting the crystal, he's protecting the balance. He wants to make sure no one misuses the power buried here." Jace's hand brushed the wall. A hidden panel slid open at his touch, revealing a staircase leading downward. Faint blue light spilled from below, and the hum of energy grew stronger. This had to be where the crystal was hidden. As they descended, Jace felt the air change. The walls pulsed with energy, almost as if the ruins were alive. Mira's eyes widened. "The deeper you go, the stronger the presence becomes," she said. "The warrior can sense your intentions. He can see your past, your fears." Jace swallowed hard. He hadn't just seen the warrior once. He had felt it, years ago, as a child. At the time, he didn't understand. Now, facing it again, he remembered the warrior had warned him even then, whispering words that he hadn't understood. Never look at him again. The staircase ended in a vast chamber. The ceiling arched high above, crisscrossed with glowing conduits and metallic beams. In the center, resting on a pedestal of ancient stone and metal, was the crystal. It pulsed with light, bright and dangerous. Jace stepped forward, but Mira grabbed his arm. "Wait." From the shadows, the warrior emerged, fully, stepping into the moonlight that filtered through cracks in the ceiling. Its face was half covered by an ornate mask, glowing circuits tracing lines across its features. Its presence was overwhelming, and Jace felt a strange pressure in his mind, as if the warrior could see every memory, every fear. "You shouldn't be here," the warrior said, its voice deep and resonant, echoing in the chamber. "The crystal is not for the unprepared." Jace gritted his teeth. "I'm not here to steal it. I'm here to keep it safe from those raiders and anyone else who would misuse it." The warrior's eyes glowed brighter, scanning him. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then it spoke again. "Intentions matter. Many have come seeking power. Few have come seeking balance." Mira stepped forward. "He knows you," she said softly, almost in awe. "He saw you as a child. That warning, it was meant for you." Jace stiffened. "What warning?" Mira hesitated. "He told you, never look at him again. Back then, you didn't understand. Now you do. The warrior watches not just the crystal, but those who might disturb it." The words hit Jace harder than any gunshot. The memory came rushing back. The boy he had been, the glowing figure, the whisper carried on the wind. He had ignored it then. Could he ignore it now? Before he could answer, a loud crash echoed through the chamber. The raiders had found another entrance. Sparks flew as energy weapons discharged, shattering parts of the walls. Jace and Mira had no choice. They had to move. Jace grabbed Mira's hand, pulling her toward the crystal. The warrior stepped forward, its form flickering. "Do not touch it yet," it commanded. But it didn't stop them. Instead, it created barriers that slowed the raiders, giving Jace and Mira precious seconds. Jace's heart pounded. Every step toward the crystal felt like crossing a line. He could feel the energy thrumming in his cybernetic arm, syncing with the pulse of the crystal. It was alive, and it was aware of him. Finally, they reached the pedestal. Jace hesitated, remembering Mira's warning and the warrior's presence. But the raiders were closing in, and hesitation could cost them everything. With a deep breath, he lifted the crystal. The moment his hands touched it, a wave of energy surged through the chamber. Jace staggered, visions flashing in his mind, deserts burning, towns destroyed, power falling into the wrong hands. He dropped to one knee, overwhelmed. Mira steadied him. The warrior's voice echoed in his mind, clearer than ever. "The past shapes the present. The crystal will judge your heart." Jace's breathing slowed. He looked at the crystal, feeling its energy not as power to control, but as a responsibility. He nodded to Mira. We have to take it somewhere safe. The raiders, they won't stop. Mira's eyes met his. I know. But the warrior, he'll help us, if you respect the rules. The ruins seemed to breathe, alive with ancient power. Jace knew this was only the beginning. The warrior had already tested him, and whatever lay ahead would demand everything he had, skill, courage, and the lessons of the past. With the crystal in hand, they turned to leave. But in the shadows unseen, the raiders regrouped, and somewhere, beyond the dunes, the warrior's gaze followed them, unwavering and eternal. The desert of Red Mesa was not done with them yet. Jace and Mira moved cautiously across the jagged desert. The crystal pulsed faintly in Jace's cybernetic arm, a reminder of its power and danger. Its light flickered like a heartbeat, syncing with his own. Every step felt heavier than the last. The desert wind seemed to whisper warnings he could almost understand. Mira rode beside him on her hoverbike, scanning the horizon. We need to reach the safe house before nightfall, she said. If the raiders catch us in the open, we're done. Jace grunted in agreement. They're fast, but not smart. We just need a plan. The desert stretched endlessly, dunes and rocky cliffs under the twin moons. Yet the deeper they went, the more Jace felt the presence of the warrior. Not close, not physical, but in the way the air vibrated around them. A flicker in the sand, a shimmer in the air, always watching, always testing. As they crossed a narrow canyon, a low hum filled the air. Jace stopped instantly, dropping to one knee.
Mira followed his gaze. At first, they saw nothing.
Then the hum became sharper, clearer, forming shapes in the shadows. Figures moved across the canyon walls, glinting metal and glowing eyes. The raiders had found them. Ambush, Jace muttered, pulling his revolver. Its plasma core hummed as he activated it. Mira drew her blaster, hands steady. The raiders attacked with surprising coordination. Energy blasts tore through the rocks, sending sand and debris into the air. Jace fired back, his cybernetic arm enhancing every movement. He jumped over a fallen boulder, spun, and shot two raiders who tried to flank them. Mira's shots were precise, cutting down anyone in her path. But as they fought, the shimmering figure of the warrior appeared above them on a cliff. Its glowing eyes scanned the battlefield, then extended a faint pulse of energy. One by one, the raiders' weapons misfired, their plasma cores sparking wildly. Panic spread among them. Jace froze for a moment, awe and fear mixing in his chest. The warrior wasn't just powerful, it was intelligent. It anticipated their moves, protected the crystal without touching it. Mira leaned close. It's like it's reading your mind, she whispered, and judging you. Jace nodded, keeping his eyes averted. He remembered the warning from years ago. Never look at him again. He had resisted before, barely. Now, with the crystal in hand and the warrior's presence overwhelming, he understood the gravity of those words. The raiders retreated, scattering across the canyon. Jace exhaled, but relief was brief. Something else moved in the shadows. This time it wasn't raiders. A voice echoed across the canyon, metallic yet human. Jace Crow. He stiffened. Mira's eyes widened. It's him, she said softly. The one the warrior warned you about. From the darkness stepped a figure, tall and thin, cloaked in ragged desert robes. Its face was partially hidden, but Jace could feel its eyes on him, cold and calculating. He didn't move. You've returned, the figure said. Its voice was low, like sand scraping stone. And you've taken the crystal, Jace gritted his teeth. Who are you? The figure chuckled. I am the consequence of your choices, Jace frowned. I don't understand. The figure raised a hand, and the desert seemed to shift. Memories flooded Jace's mind, not his own, but intertwined with his past. A child hiding behind rocks, watching a glowing figure. A whisper carried on the wind. Fear. Awe. Loss. And a warning. Never look at him again. Jace staggered. Mira caught him. It's connected to the warrior. It's part of your past, she said. You have to face it, or the desert won't let you pass. The figure moved closer, revealing part of its face, a mask similar to the warrior's, circuits glowing faintly beneath. Jace's mind screamed. This wasn't a simple enemy. This was a mirror of what he could have become if he had chosen differently. I warned you once, the warrior's voice echoed in his memory, soft yet firm. Never look at him again. But you did. And now you must face the consequences. Jace clenched his fists. His cybernetic arm sparked, energy flowing through it as he steadied himself. He wasn't the same boy from the desert. He had survived, fought, and learned. But now he had to prove it. Mira stepped forward. "He's testing you," she said. "You have to decide. Will you fight him or let the warrior guide you?" Jace's heart pounded. The figure advanced, calm but dangerous. Jace realized that this wasn't about guns or strength. It was about intention, choice, and control. The figure stopped just a few feet away. "Do you remember me?" it asked, voice softening. Jace hesitated. Memories surfaced. His childhood self, the desert, the glow, the whisper. And then he saw it clearly. The figure had once been a boy like him, chosen by the warrior to guard the balance. A failure. Lost in anger and ambition. Now returned, a warning-turned enemy. "I remember," Jace said finally. "I remember everything." The figure studied him. "Then you know what is at stake." Jace nodded. "I won't let the crystal fall into the wrong hands. I won't become what you were." The figure's eyes narrowed, and for a moment the desert seemed to hold its breath. Then, without warning, it lunged. Jace dodged, his cybernetic arm propelling him aside. Sparks flew as energy blasts lit the canyon walls. Mira fired alongside him, creating openings for escape. But this fight was different. Each move, each dodge, felt like a puzzle. The figure anticipated his thoughts, his instincts, almost as if it could see into his mind. Jace realized he couldn't fight with brute force alone. He had to think, to trust his training, and to respect the warrior's lessons. He feinted left, then rolled under a beam of energy, sending the figure stumbling slightly. Jace seized the moment, raising his arm and connecting with the crystal. A surge of light erupted, illuminating the canyon. The figure froze, unable to move. The warrior appeared beside Jace, its glowing eyes meeting the figure's. For the first time, Jace understood the full meaning of the warning. The warrior's role wasn't just to protect the crystal, it was to teach restraint, patience, and awareness. The figure had failed because it ignored the balance, consumed by ambition. Jace exhaled, lowering the crystal carefully. "It's over," he said. The figure didn't move. The warrior's glow intensified and the figure slowly dissolved into a cascade of shimmering light, leaving behind nothing but sand and silence. Mira approached him, her expression a mixture of relief and awe. "You did it," she said softly. "You faced him, and you didn't fail." Jace nodded, exhaustion and clarity washing over him. He looked at the crystal, understanding now its weight. It wasn't power to wield, it was responsibility. And he had passed the first real test. The desert wind shifted, carrying the faintest whisper. Jace froze. "Remember the past, honor the balance, protect what matters." He nodded again, silently promising. The warrior's presence lingered nearby, faint but steady, as if watching over them even now. Mare smiled faintly. "Let's get out of here before more raiders, or worse, show up. The desert isn't done with us yet." Jace strapped the crystal carefully to his arm. "I know," he said, "but I feel different, stronger, wiser." As they rode toward the horizon, the first light of dawn touched the dunes. The desert seemed calmer now, but its power was undeniable. Jace realized that the line he had crossed, the one between past mistakes and present choices, would define everything ahead. Somewhere far behind, the ruins of Red Mesa stood silent, ancient power sleeping beneath the sand. But Jace knew this. The warrior had tested him. The past had spoken, and he had survived the line in the dust. The journey wasn't over. The crystal was only the beginning. And the desert would continue to watch. The desert of Red Mesa stretched endless beneath the twin suns, hot and unrelenting. Jace and Mira rode hard, the crystal secured in his cybernetic arm, its faint pulse keeping time with his own heartbeat. The events of the previous night weighed heavily on him. The vision of the figure from his past, the warrior's test, the whispered warnings. Every step forward reminded him that the desert was alive, always watching. Mira glanced at him, her green eyes sharp. "We can't slow down. The raiders aren't finished. They'll be coming for the crystal again." Jace grunted, adjusting the strap on his coat. His cybernetic arm throbbed faintly from the surge of energy he had felt in the canyon. "I know," he said, "but this time we're ready. We know what we're facing." The horizon shimmered with heat and dust. In the distance, a small group of raiders appeared, moving fast on patched hoverbikes, plasma rifles at the ready. Jace's jaw tightened. He had fought them before, but now, with the warrior's lesson in mind, he understood something important. Brute force wouldn't be enough. They had to be clever. "Split up," he said to Mira. "Draw them toward the canyon. I'll take the left pass." Mira raised an eyebrow. "You're crazy." "Call it a plan," Jace said with a half-smile. "Trust me." They separated, weaving through jagged rocks and shifting dunes. The raiders, seeing only one target at a time, charged recklessly. Jace ducked behind a rock, his revolver firing in rapid bursts. Plasma blasts sizzled past him, melting sand and kicking up dust. Mira, using her smaller bike, circled behind the raiders, taking precise shots that disabled engines and forced them off balance. Jace felt the warrior's presence again, not directly, but like a shadow moving with him. The whispers returned, soft yet insistent. Balance, focus, restraint. He nodded silently, letting instinct guide him. One raider broke away from the group, aiming directly at Mira. Jace didn't hesitate. He leapt from his cover, landing with a thud that shook the sand, and fired a precise shot. The raider crashed into a dune, spinning harmlessly. Mira shot a grateful look at him before speeding ahead. The desert wasn't just a battlefield. It was a maze. Rocks jutted sharply from the sand, dunes rose like walls, and hidden ravines could swallow a rider in seconds. Jace used every advantage, ducking, leaping, and firing from unexpected angles. His cybernetic arm enhanced his movements, but he relied on skill more than power. Every action was deliberate, every choice measured. The warrior's lesson echoed in his mind. Power is nothing without wisdom. Ahead, the raiders regrouped near a narrow canyon. Jace realized they were leading him, and Mira, into a trap. Energy shields shimmered faintly across the rocks. Plasma turrets, buried beneath sand, hummed with deadly potential. The canyon was perfect for an ambush. Jace smiled grimly. Perfect for a counterattack. He signaled Mira. "Follow my lead," he said over the comm. "We're going to turn this canyon against them." They raced forward. Jace triggered small energy charges buried in the sand, creating temporary barriers and sparks that disoriented the raiders. Mira fired from above, her shots knocking them off balance. Rocks shifted, sand tumbled, and the canyon itself became a weapon. The raiders, caught in the trap, panicked. Blinded by dust and flashing energy, they scattered. Jace moved through them like a shadow, disarming and disabling with calculated precision. One by one, the mercenaries fell, retreating or surrendering. But just as the last raider tried to escape, the ground shook violently. The crystal in Jace's arm pulsed brighter, and a low hum filled the canyon. The warrior appeared at the far end, a glowing figure of calm and authority. Its eyes met Jace's, and he understood. The final challenge wasn't just defeating the raiders. It was proving he could protect the crystal without succumbing to its temptation. Jace slowed, letting the raiders flee. The warrior's gaze followed him, approving but firm. Then, as if sensing the end of the test, it extended a hand toward the crystal. Jace lifted it carefully, and the energy calmed, settling into a steady pulse. Mira approached him cautiously. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "The warrior, he's satisfied." He felt a weight lift from him. Not just the responsibility of the crystal, but something deeper, a connection to his past, a recognition of the lessons he had avoided for so long. The desert around them seemed to settle. The wind softened and the distant dunes glimmered under the twin suns. It was as if the desert itself acknowledged the balance had been restored. Mira glanced at him, her expression thoughtful. "What now? We can't just leave the crystal here. Someone else will come for it." Jace thought for a moment. "We'll take it somewhere safe. Somewhere the warrior's influence can't be undone. It's not just about hiding it. It's about protecting it responsibly." They mounted their hoverbikes again, the crystal secured between them. The ride back across the desert was tense but calm. Jace felt the warrior's presence fade slowly, like a shadow receding at dawn. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. The lesson had been learned. As they neared Red Mesa, they noticed the town stirring to life. Traders, workers, and travelers moved about, unaware of the battle that had taken place in the desert beyond. The world went on, fragile and ordinary, while Jace and Mira carried a secret of immense power. Mira broke the silence. "Do you ever think about why the warrior chose you?" Jace considered her question. "Maybe it's not about being chosen," he said slowly. "Maybe it's about being ready to learn. And finally, I'm ready." They arrived at a secluded outpost far from the main town. Inside, the walls were lined with metal cabinets, reinforced energy shields, and old desert maps. Jace placed the crystal in a containment device, watching as its light dimmed to a safe, steady glow. Mira smiled faintly. Safe for now. Jace nodded, his eyes lingering on the crystal. For now, he repeated. But he knew the desert would always be watching. The warrior's lessons would remain with him. Balance, restraint, awareness. The desert and its guardian had taught him more than any battle ever could. For a long moment they sat in silence, letting the weight of the journey sink in. Then Mira spoke, her tone lighter but firm. So, what happens to us now? Jace looked at her, a hint of a smile on his lips. We ride. We survive. Always remember what matters. The twin suns rose higher, casting long shadows across the desert. The wind carried the faintest whisper, barely audible, yet unmistakable. The past shapes the present. Protect the balance. Honor what is sacred. Jace exhaled and secured his coat. I understand, he said softly. Mira mounted her hoverbike. Then let's go. Together they rode across the dunes, leaving behind the ruins of Red Mesa. The desert stretched before them, endless and full of secrets. The crystal pulsed softly in Jace's arm, a reminder of the journey they had survived. And somewhere beyond the horizon, the Lakota warrior watched silently, satisfied, its duty fulfilled, for now. The desert was alive, and the adventure was far from over. But Jace and Mira rode on, stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever came next. The last ride had begun.